Okay, thank you very much. Brian Jenks, NDSU weed scientist at Minot. Appreciate the opportunity to share some things with you. Just a couple of things. Got an email this morning from Roger Batts in IR4. Said that BASF is going to no longer manufacture Post, P-O-A-S-T. And so that product will either go away or somebody else will pick it up. They said there should be enough for 2025, but 2026, we don't know. Okay, wild oat. In the last page in the weed guide, you'll see the research that we have. You'll see a couple of tables in there on the last page of the weed guide. Table 1 is the work that we've been doing, where we've been testing wild oat over the last several years from samples that are suspected of being resistant. So these numbers are very high. You'll see that Select, for the most part, has still been working for us, but high resistance in some of the others. Axial maybe still will work where some others will not. But I think maybe Joe will be talking about that a little bit more. But I just wanted to refer you to that back page of the weed guide. Also, Sarah, I am glad to report that we put Palmer on our noxious weed list. And as far as I know, I think we've done a very good job of eradicating it, with a couple of exceptions. Where it came in via sunflower screenings and where cattle spread it all over the place. So we're going to try and not become like Kansas and Nebraska regarding Palmer. Also, the PPO resistance, so far, that is target site, fortunately. And so we do think not metabolic, that as far as we know. Okay. As everyone is well aware, no dicamba in soybeans in 2025. And that means no dicamba legally in North Dakota. The labels say that you can't make, in North Dakota, we can't make a dicamba pre-plant application in areas with less than 25 inches of rainfall. So that covers North Dakota. So what do we do with our Roundup resistant weeds like kochia, horseweed, etc.? Well, we know what the primary workhorse product is going to be, and that's going to be Liberty or glufosinate. Unfortunately, the precedent has been set. We know that glufosinate resistance can occur. It's occurred in some other pigweed species. But for those of you that grow canola, what's going to happen if we get resistance to Liberty? We're going back to group 3s in canola. So we have got to properly steward Liberty in canola. And so how are we going to reduce the selection pressure on Liberty? We use it primarily post-emergence in canola. We also use it in soybean a lot. And so in our soybean, I think we've got to do some other things. We have some other options in soybean. So we've got to make use of those other options in soybean and not rely solely on Liberty to control our weeds. Okay, in kochia, or for kochia, we've got Spartan products. Obviously, I'm ignoring the group 14 resistance for a minute. Metribuzin. We really should be using metribuzin in soybean. Injury-wise, the risk is super low. We really ought to be using metribuzin where we can. Valor, Zidua. Zidua can help us. We have been seeing, and I'll be presenting some information in a few minutes. You know, the fall Zidua seems to be more effective for us than the spring Zidua, or excuse me, I should say Anthem Flex. We've been testing Anthem Flex in the fall, and it has helped. It's not control, but it's, depending on the rate you're using, 50 to 90% suppression. Our yellow products, our group 3s, Sonland, Treflan, Prowl. we need to be considering those. And obviously, our post options, Liberty, but then also Flexstar and Ultra Blazer, Cobra, Basagran. Yes, you can suppress kochia with Basagran as long as it's 1 inch tall when you spray it. Do it twice. Okay, so Liberty, you know the routine here. Warm temps, high humidity, sunny, medium droplets, preferably 15 to 20 gallons an acre, AMS, small weeds, less than 3 inches. We want to see it applied post. We'd rather not see it applied pre, because think of the environmental conditions when you're spraying Liberty in early May. We're probably going to be a lot colder, maybe not ideal conditions for Liberty. Definitely consider gramoxone for your burn down instead. Also be aware that some generic formulations of glufosinate are not equivalent to Liberty. Some of them that we've tested are 20 to 30%, provide 20 to 30% less control than Liberty does. Again, consider the group 3s, Treflan, Sonland for canola, and then make sure you have a strong weed control program the previous year, primarily in front of canola. Short rotations and relying on a single mode of action is probably where we see resistance showing the most. So if you're doing canola, wheat, soybean, wheat only, you're likely using the same modes of action over and over again. We need to avoid that. So here's what not to do. So if you've got a soybean, canola, wheat, soybean rotation, or you could, in theory, use Liberty twice those 3 years, but that is certainly something you don't want to do. Rather, let's look at doing something like this, where maybe in the wheat you're using styrene, bromoxynil, whatever product of choice you use there, so that you've got 2 modes of action. You're not relying solely on styrene. In canola, consider a fall granules in no-till. If you're in no-till, fall granules. With Sonland, if you're in conventional till, you could apply it in the spring. With your Liberty, coming back the next year with something like a Husky FX, where you've got 3 modes of action. In your Liberty Link soybean, unfortunately, we can't use dicamba this year, or else I would definitely recommend that as a pre. But you're going to have to maybe consider something like a Spartan metribuzin in your Liberty, and then coming back possibly, besides Liberty, a Flexstar, Ultra Blazer type application. Okay, so just a reminder, our Group 14 classification here, Flexstar, Cobra, Ultra Blazer. These are our diphenyl ethers. And Sarah, in contrast to your pigweed species, we are not seeing the diphenyl ethers being resistant, or kochia being resistant to these diphenyl ethers. So it's kind of opposite of the pigweeds. Okay, so you've seen this picture before, where this is foliar control. So Sharpen, Reviton, Vita, AIM right here are not controlling the resistant kochia, but down here at the bottom, Ultra Blazer, Flexstar, Cobra do control this kochia, and some suppression from Spartan and Valor. Now we're going to look at it. Kirk Howitt put this together, where at the bottom you see the herbicides, Ultra Blazer, Flexstar, Cobra. So here's our diphenyl ethers down here in the bottom left-hand corner. And those 3 herbicides are still providing decent control of the kochia. Maybe Cobra, just a little bit less consistent. I wanted to ask you, is that what you've seen in Kansas from Cobra? Maybe a little bit less control?
I think of those 3, Cobra would be
the weakest? Okay. Okay, so Blazer and Flexstar seem to be the most consistent and strongest here. But then here, look at Valor, Sharpen, Reviton, Vita, AIM. Obviously, normally we would expect much better control than this with Sharpen especially. And then, and these were all applied with AMS and MSO. So we see a little bit better control still with the Spartan, but seeing more resistance with the Valor. Okay. Later on today, Zach Bateson from the Genotyping Center will be talking about the work that he has been doing. And we owe a great deal of gratitude to Zach and the work that the Genotyping Center has done. So now we don't have to wait. We don't have to grow the plants in the greenhouse and spray them. You can just send some leaves to Zach and he can tell you in a week or two if you've got group 14 resistance or not. We know this resistant PPO kochia is in over half of our counties now. I think I showed this last year, but I want to show it again because it goes along with another one of the slides I'm going to be presenting. In this greenhouse study, I have two susceptible checks, one down here at the bottom, and up here is the other one. And then right here on the left sides are untreated. We got 4 pots here. So this is our susceptible check treated with Valor. This is a Minot resistant sample, Mohall resistant sample, and another susceptible check down here. So Valor was controlling the susceptible check. Here is Zidua, and this is 2.5 ounces of Zidua. So we're getting suppression from Zidua. We don't expect control, but we're getting some suppression. But then when we have Fierce, now remember, Fierce is Valor plus Zidua. So even though we're seeing reduced control from Valor by itself, combined with Fierce, we're still getting better control than we are with Zidua alone. So consider that. Okay, here's a fall study that we did this past year with Anthem Flex. This is 3, 4, and 6 ounces, and then 3.5 ounces combined with 1/3 pound of metribuzin. Now that's 1/3 pound product of a 75 DF. These were applied October 16. And again, Anthem Flex is Zidua plus AIM. Let's jump right here to June 27, later in the season. I think somebody asked today how long this control lasts. So Anthem Flex through the end of June was still providing about 70% control with 4 ounces on kochia, and then about the same, around 70% control on green foxtail. So this is through the end of June. Went up to 6 ounces, bumped us up to close to 90% control with both on kochia and foxtail. Yes, the price is kind of rough there, but if we can get some suppression and reduce the amount of kochia and foxtail that's emerging in the spring, could benefit us. Okay, and I show this picture again. Considered getting some kochia, sending a few leaves, putting an envelope, and send it to Zach here at the Genotyping Center. Okay, I want to make a couple comments about Tolvera. I do really think this is a product that can help us. This is the only data I'm going to show. Again, it is the group 27 tolpyrrolate plus a group 6. It has broadleaf activity, grass activity, just not wild oat. For us, it's primarily going to be foxtail and barnyard grass. It can be tank mixed with other products to broaden the spectrum. Something like possibly an open sky or maybe axial star. So you've got a group 1 or group 2, along with maybe some starine to broaden the spectrum of the Tolvera. I haven't done the work, but Corteva's done the work where they've done these tank mixes and have not seen antagonism on the grass control from adding a group 1 or group 2 to the group 27. So that will help. If you do add these, then yes, it's extra cost, but it can also help you with the stewardship of this product because right now we're looking at a lot of growers don't have options with group 1 and group 2. And this group 27, the tolpyrrolate that does have the grass activity to control these resistant foxtails, this could help us. So you could tank mix with another product to give you another mode of action on the foxtail as well as the kochia. I want to mention on the kochia, Tolvera in our trials has been, it's been close to Husky FX, which generally is our best product, It's usually been within 5 to 7% of Husky FX, but look down here, the smaller the kochia, the better control you get. You keep that kochia less than 3 inches, you're probably going to get 90% plus control. Same thing with the foxtail. If you're spraying small foxtail, you're going to get greater than 90% control. If you spray bigger foxtail, you're going to get less control. One of the other benefits of Tolvera will be the crop rotation. With Husky FX and Talinor, we've got rotation restrictions specifically to probably the biggest one is lentil. But with Tolvera, it's 9 months to all of these crops: dry bean, lentil, dry pea, chickpea right there. Okay, so that could be a big advantage for some of the growers in the western part of the state. Okay, I'm going to talk about a product that isn't labeled yet, but I'm hopeful that it'll get through EPA in the next month or two. It is dichlorprop. It will be known as Maestro EXT, sold by New Farm. Dichlorprop looks just like 2,4-D except for this methyl group right here. And in my trials with Maestro EXT, it has been very good on kochia. Now you think, okay, so dichlorprop still has more activity on our kochia than 2,4-D does, even though it's just that one small methyl group difference. And what I show here is, again, smaller the kochia, the better control you get. 3-inch kochia, still greater than 90% control. But you get up to 6-inch kochia, drops down to 61 to 85, depending on rate. So this is a product that could give us another option for controlling kochia in wheat. I'm going to show you one of Joe's slides, and I'm showing it because I'm going to compare his to mine. Okay, this is water hemp control, and Sarah, I think you showed something like this today, where Zidua was better on, I think it was Palmer. Okay, Zidua was better on Palmer, and that's what Joe shows here. Zidua is better on water hemp, and Warrant was better on water hemp than Dual and Outlook. Okay, now, so this was Joe's data from Fargo. I have the same trial, but on green foxtail, and kind of see the opposite results. With my trial in Minot, we actually saw Dual and Outlook were a little bit better than Zidua and Warrant. So with our green foxtail issues that we have, based on this one study, it looks like Dual and Outlook, if you include that in as part of your rotation to help take some of the pressure off our group 1s and group 2s, this could help you with foxtail. Okay, I have some pictures, but I think I'm going to skip them just for sake of time. Okay, one of the questions I've wondered about is, we know that gramoxone, we need to be using it in our burn down. And sometimes gramoxone can be weaker on some weeds. Common lamb's quarters is one of them. Now, generally, as long as the lamb's quarter is only a couple inches tall, it should be smoked by gramoxone. But I wanted to look at other tank mix partners, potential tank mix partners, to see if they would actually contribute any control or not. And so what I have in here is gramoxone on June 22nd by itself was providing 70% control of lamb's quarters. Sharp, throwing in Sharpen got us up to 87, Metribuzin 99, and so on. Where I've left the numbers out, though I left them out just so it's easier to read, but so where I left the number out here with gramoxone plus bromoxynil, so this was no different than gramoxone by itself. So that's why I left that out. So seeing a benefit from some of these herbicides over gramoxone by itself to help with lamb's quarters in a burn down. There was no difference in kochia control because everything was 99% with the gramoxone. Green foxtail got a little bit of bump from metribuzin. Metribuzin also helped with the mustard species. Affinity broadspec helped a little bit here also with the mustard species. And so I wanted to see if these other products would add anything. It looks like they can. Okay, the new Express label, and this is primarily for no-till. The new Express label allows a pre-plant application in front of beans, pulse crops, beans, peas, lentils, chickpeas. Why would you want to spray Express specifically in front of those crops? Primarily for our winter annuals. And this would be for species like mustards, prickly lettuce, nearleaf hawksbeard, false chamomile, or others. So this is Express. This is not Harmony. Do not apply Harmony or a Harmony containing product. This is only Express. Harmony has too much residual. It will injure these crops. So we're looking at a 1/4 ounce. Label indicates pre-plant only. We have seen almost no injury to dry pea and chickpea. There, you could see some injury to lentil, but so far in our trials, the risk has been low, especially if you're keeping your planting depth at least 1.5 to 2 inches. Okay, for our lentil people in the room, this is Tough plus metribuzin post in lentil. This shocked me, but okay, here we go. This should be considered a rescue treatment. Is it the plow or Tough plus metribuzin? So it's that kind of a decision. You're going to disc it up, or are you going to use Tough metribuzin? Okay, this should, and when you think of the word rescue treatment, you think, oh, well, 6-inch weeds. No, this has got to be no more than 3-inch kochia. So it's a tool. You don't have to use it. If you have few weeds, you probably don't need it. If you have a lot of weeds, it may be useful. And yes, I cannot overstate, you will see severe lentil injury. However, yield generally was not reduced in our 2024 research. This was actually a labeled treatment. So this is actually labeled, was labeled last year, or the last couple of years. We have seen some disasters. And so we did this research to try and avoid these disasters, because the label is not very clear, doesn't give you much guidance on what rate to use of the two products. Okay, how many minutes do I have? 5? Okay. All right, so just so we're on the same page with the metribuzin conversion chart, I'm going to mostly be referring to this 0.09 pounds AI. But I'm going to refer to it because we use the 75 DF, which is 2 ounces. Now, if you use dimetric, it's 4 ounces. If you use Glory or metribuzin, it's 3.17. If you use Metricor and Tricor, it's 3. Okay, so here we've got our untreated, Tough at 7 ounces, Tough at 14, Tough at 20. Now, just so for you chickpea guys, you know that 24 ounces is the normal rate in chickpeas and corn, 24. So we're using reduced rates here. And then we're tank mixing with 2 ounces of metribuzin, or that 0.09 pounds AI. And here is Tough 14 plus 2. Here's Tough 20 and 2. So look at this plot right here compared to the untreated. It looks ugly, but this is a labeled treatment. Any grower would look at that and say, well, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to use that. Okay, but now let's follow plot 105 right here. So this was sprayed June 14, and the application was made June 20. Or excuse me, the photo was taken June 20, so this is 6 days after application. Now we're going to jump from June 20 to July 3rd. You see the lentils start to recover. And now we're going to jump to July 18. Lentils are recovering. Okay, so this is the percent injury here. This is the treatment, 7 ounces. This is the percent control, kochia, red root pigweed, lamb's quarters. And this green number right here, this is the percent yield increase above the non-treated. So in none of these treatments did we reduce yield. So with 7 ounces of tough, only 55% control of kochia, not acceptable. When we mixed in the metribuzin with it, we bumped it up to 81% control of kochia. We threw some NIS with the tough and metribuzin, kochia 87. So we're getting there, and we increased the yield 25% above the non-treated, and so on. So again, this is a tool. Some growers did use this past year. Actually, quite a few did. Many of them were happy with it. But they were warned that there would be injury. But they were happy with it. They said they would do it again. Talked to a couple other growers that said that they would not do it again. So again, so that's just an FYI. So here's our recommendation. Lentil stage needs to be at least 2 inches, but apply by 35 days after planting. This is to avoid flowering. 1 to 2 inch kochia, we're going to recommend 10 ounces plus metribuzin. If it's 3 inches, 12 ounces plus metribuzin. Weed stage should be less than 3 inches. Kochia, don't spray the puffball kochia. And don't wait till 4-inch kochia. Minimum 15 to 20 gallons of water, medium to coarse droplets. An adjuvant will help with control, but you'll also see a bump in injury. Don't rely on total post. Got to have a soil applied herbicide to go with it. And include a gramoxone burn down. So consider something like a Fall Valor, Prowl, or Sonland. And then if you did use metribuzin pre, and then you come back post, could be a little bit more injury there. Okay, that's all I have. 2 minutes for questions. Question was, what rate of Flexstar is being used to get that kind of control?
3/4 pint.
3/4 pint is what we were using with AMS and MSO, but it's small kochia. You can't spray 4-inch kochia. Got to be 3 or less.
Tolvera rate when tank mixed.
Tolvera rate when tank mixed, either it's the 11 and 14.7, right? Either one.
Tolvera plus wide match.
Tolvera plus wide match antagonism? I don't think so. I don't think you would see antagonism there, correct? Yeah.
Caleb says no as well.
Need the mix in place for Canada thistle and foxtails. No, that shouldn't be a problem.